Everyone in town knew him, the man who owned half the buildings on Main Street, drove the sleekest cars, and wore arrogance like it was his crown. He was Marcus Hale, the millionaire everyone feared. Not because he was violent, but because he was cruel in a way that cut deeper than fists ever could. He made people feel small. His voice was sharp, his words dripping with disdain. And yet, no one dared to stand up to him. Not the waiters, not the shopkeepers, not even the mayor. That's why when the new waitress at Riverside Café stood up to him one ordinary morning, the entire cafe froze, and what happened next left everyone with a lesson they would never forget. The Riverside Café was the heartbeat of the little town, a cozy place where regulars sipped coffee, students studied in corners, and families came for Sunday brunch. But the moment Marcus Hale walked in, that heartbeat skipped. Conversations hushed, laughter died, and everyone braced for the storm. He always demanded the best seat by the window, even if it meant throwing out an old couple who had been sitting there peacefully. He criticized the coffee, sneered at the food, and insulted the staff like they were beneath him. And every time, people just took it because he was powerful, rich, and dangerous to cross, but that morning, something was different. Behind the counter, a young woman in a simple uniform was learning the ropes. Her name was Emma. She had only been working at the cafe for a week. Life hadn't been kind to her, her mother was sick, her younger brother needed school fees, and Emma had taken the job because she couldn't afford to wait for something better. She had been told, warned actually, about Marcus Hale. If he comes in, just agree with whatever he says, the manager whispered nervously on her first day. Don't argue. Don't push back. It's not worth it. Emma had nodded. But inside, something in her rebelled. She had been pushed around her whole life, treated like she didn't matter, like her voice was too small. And she was tired of it. The bell above the cafe door chimed, and in walked Marcus Hale. He wore his usual smug smirk, tailored suit, and a cloud of superiority that seemed to fill the entire room. His eyes scanned the cafe like a king surveying his subjects, and without a word, he snapped his fingers at Emma. You. Coffee. Black. And make it quick. His tone was sharp, dismissive, like she wasn't a human being at all. Emma brought him his coffee with quiet politeness, but instead of a thank you, he took a sip, grimaced, and spat harsh words. Disgusting. Is this mud water? Can't this place hire anyone competent? The cafe went silent. Customers pretended to look at their plates, but their ears strained. The staff stiffened, their faces pale. Everyone knew what would happen next. The millionaire would continue his tirade, and nobody would dare say a word, but Emma didn't look away. She stood there, gripping her notepad, her chest tightening with both fear and determination. And then, before she could talk herself out of it, her voice rang out, steady, clear, and trembling only slightly. Sir, with all due respect, if the coffee isn't good enough for you, you're welcome to leave. But don't insult the people who work hard here every day. We're not beneath you. We're human beings. The cafe froze. Forks clinked against plates. Someone gasped. No one had ever spoken to Marcus Hale like that. The millionaire's face darkened, his smirk wiped clean, replaced with shock and then cold fury. Do you know who I am? He hissed. Do you have any idea what I can do to you? I could have this cafe shut down by the end of the week. Emma's heart pounded, but she lifted her chin. Maybe you can. Maybe you own half this town. But you don't own me. And you don't get to treat us like trash just because you're rich. Silence. For a long moment, Marcus stared at her, as if he couldn't believe this slip of a girl had dared defy him. Everyone waited for him to explode, to unleash the kind of wrath only money could fuel. But then, something unexpected happened. His shoulders slumped slightly. His glare softened, if only for a flicker of a second, and in his eyes, there was something almost broken. He didn't say another word. Instead, he pushed back his chair, dropped a bill on the table, and walked out. The cafe erupted. Some clapped softly, others cheered under their breath, and the staff looked at Emma like she was a hero. For the first time in years, Marcus Hale had been silenced. But the story didn't end there. That evening, as Emma was leaving after her shift, she saw Marcus waiting by his car. Her stomach twisted, but before she could turn away, he called out. His voice wasn't harsh this time. It was uncertain. "Why didn't you back down?" he asked quietly. Emma hesitated, then said, "Because someone had to remind you that money doesn't give you the right to hurt people." Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then he confessed something no one would have believed. Years ago, before he was rich, he had been a nobody, mocked and belittled, and he swore he would never be powerless again. But somewhere along the way, he had become the very thing he hated. Emma's words had cracked open something he had buried for years. Over the next weeks, Marcus changed. Slowly, awkwardly, but noticeably. He stopped barking orders at staff. He greeted people politely. He even began leaving generous tips without insults attached. It wasn't a perfect transformation, but people saw it. He was trying. And the cafe? It flourished, not because of Marcus's money, but because one young waitress reminded everyone of something powerful: courage is contagious. By the end, Emma wasn't just a waitress. She was a symbol to everyone who had ever felt small, unheard, or afraid. And Marcus? He learned that respect is worth far more than fear. So remember this: sometimes it only takes one voice, one act of bravery, to break the chains of fear and change even the hardest heart.